Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of VI Shots, episode 44. This is the show dedicated to the world of LabView. With each episode, we bring you interviews, discussions, and share with you ideas for how you can take your LabView development to the next level. Well, hello, and thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode of VI Shots. And this one is coming to you live from the VI Shot Studios in California. Today we have two guests, and one is special, one not so special. He's here all the time. I'm just kidding. Jack, welcome to the show.
I'm dying to hear who's special and who's not. By the way, nailed it on the intro. That was awesome.
Yes,
for those of you who don't know, Mike has always done that for his podcast intro, but this is the first time for live. So yeah, we're excited that that's up and running today.
Yes, and our special guest is James McNally, who comes to us from the UK. And he's a systems engineer and director at Wiresmith Technology. James, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
And James, well, actually today we're going to be talking about some awesome things, and as people can tell from the show title, we're going to talk about LabView 2014, of course, and some recap of some things that happened at NIWeek 2014. Jack, you came back from NIWeek. Are you exhausted, rested, or how do you feel about the whole experience?
Oh wow! So this year was actually this was a very long extended work vacation. NIWeek right in the middle. I was at a customer site right before that. Left from NIWeek to go back to the customer site. That's actually why I missed the last show. Sorry to have missed you guys. Watched along kind of asynchronously, but yeah, it's been a very busy month. NIWeek right in the middle. NIWeek was very cool. We could talk more about it later, but one thing that I really liked more than anything was getting to meet probably about a dozen or so people who I've been working with over Hangouts, not unlike this. But getting to meet them in person and hang out, get to know the actual person, that was fantastic. One of those people that I got to meet for the first time was yourself, James. So yeah, very very exciting.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, James, I got to meet you as well at the Lava Barbecue, which was fun. That was James. Was this your first NIWeek, or were you there before?
I have made it out a couple of times before when I used to work at National Instruments UK. This is my first one, self-propelled, if you like, trying to find my own way around without being directed. But yeah, it was great, like you say, to put a lot of new faces to avatars and expand the kind of community that I've got around me.
Awesome. So James, just to get into a little bit about what you do, can you talk about? You mentioned just now that you worked at National Instruments UK. How long have you been gone from that, and what are you doing now?
Yeah, so I was with National Instruments UK for about 4 years, and coming up 4 or 5 months ago now, I decided to leave and work as an integrator, set up my own company to do that, and so mainly been working on a project with National Grid, doing some distributed monitoring, but generally I tend to work on kind of embedded projects with Compact Rio.
So your specialty is kind of embedded systems. So you must have been excited about some of the announcements at NIWeek around that area.
Oh, definitely so. Yeah. I think it's exciting to see kind of the next evolution of Compact Rio, and can't wait. Now I have to wait to get a project though. I don't just get one appear on my desk like I did at NI. I need to wait and get a customer to use one and try them out. Right.
So you mentioned you did work for National Grid in the UK. That was actually Keynote as well, right?
Yes, NIWeek was a big relief this year to have the demo ready, have it shown off. It worked, which I was very relieved about. And
so that code in the demo was kind of your doing then, your magic.
Mostly so, yeah. I actually got to know them when I was working at National Instruments, and they had part of it done, but a lot of the stuff they showed in the server side was all freshly done since I started this company. So it's nice to put it in front of an audience and see what the reaction is.
So
Right.
those in the audience who weren't able to see it, could you just tell us what the demo was?
Yeah, so as I say, they have, it's a distributed monitoring system, so they've got compact RIOs installed in the field, and that's all being pulled back into a database, and we've actually spent almost as much time in JavaScript as in LabVIEW to be able to present that in a way so that they can log into it from anywhere in the company, look at a map of the UK and see kind of the current condition of the electricity grid.
Gotcha. So you've got compact RIOs that are pumping data to a database, and then you have a web front end. Actually, what server and what tech stack are you using to display the web pages?
So it's all been based on Angular right now. So we have kind of an Angular client. LabVIEW is still driving the server side because we've still got some live display. So actually the nerviest bit of the demo was we had some real data from a substation in the UK being streamed over VPN, actually using OPC UA underneath, and displaying it live.
So on the keynote stage, you had bits flowing under the transatlantic cable to the stage, basically, you're saying.
Yes, and through a VPN link, which made us a little bit more nervous as well.
Wow, and that's served directly from the CRIO using the LabVIEW, I guess the new web server that was introduced in 2013?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
It was a nice change in 2013. It made it a lot easier to do these sorts of things.
Very cool.
James is actually very prolific on the web as well. He has a blog. And James, I'm announcing it to the world that you have a blog because now you can't stop blogging. Now you have to keep blogging. Now you're committed to satisfying people with new information. So yeah, so you have a blog that you've been consistently updating, and I commend you for that because there's a lot of people that start saying I want a blog, and they post a blog, and their first post is, hey guys, this is my first post. Let's see how this goes, and then that's it. It doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, so I commend you for that. And can you tell us the URL that people can follow you on?
Yeah, so it's at wiresmithtech.com/blog. I used to have it on a personal site, and I've moved it over onto my company site since then. And yeah, I've been doing it just over a year now. It's great fun. It was one of the nice things at NIWeek is to actually see people come and say, hey, I've been reading what you've been writing, which is obviously helps me find the time to do it when I know actually people are enjoying it and seeing it. So yeah, please do check it out. And I find it's a great excuse to explore things. So, if you want to find out something or you got an idea that you don't have the time to look into, let me know and I'll take a look.
Do you think having that blog and having that type of publicity and putting this information out, do you think that made your NIWeek better this year? And if so, how? Can you share a story? You don't have to share names or anything. But yeah, I'm just curious.
It definitely, more than anything, it's a great icebreaker.
Yeah.
I certainly spoke to a few people and they're kind of chatting away. I said, "Oh, you're that James McNally. I've been reading what you've been writing," and so it's a good topic starter. And hopefully, from my point of view, meant that there are a few more people to kind of chat to with a bit of a basis.
Yeah, and also your avatar, your face, of course, on the avatar is everywhere. It's on the Lava forums. It's on your blog and all that. So basically, I saw you from a distance at the Lava barbecue, and I was just drawn to you because I saw your face and I recognized you. I was like, oh, that's James, because your long flowing hair and everything. So I said, oh, okay, that must be James.
I tend to be quite distinguishable in a crowd, which helps.
But then you started talking with a British accent that just threw me off. I said, no. Awesome, cool. So let's start getting into the topic that a lot of people probably are interested in, is LabVIEW 2014. Before we get into that, though, I'd like to remind people that there is a chat room that you can go on and ask questions live to us. and we will pick some questions and answer them if we have time. And if the easiest way to get to that is go to vishots.com/live, and there's links there to the Google Plus Hangout where you can go in and watch the video, and on the right side you can type in your question. So let's get into that. So in general, I'd like to get kind of an opinion from you guys about LabVIEW 2014. Now, first of all, I guess we all should agree that, I mean, LabVIEW sort of features in the keynote was not very prominent, correct? I mean, am I wrong?
Yeah, it was pretty understated.
Right.
Although great to be community focused first, but
right. From Jack, do you agree that, I mean, we didn't notice? Typically, when you at an NIWeek's past, you would have like a whole section of, hey, look at this cool LabVIEW feature, this one, this one, this one, all in a row. Now it was just very subdued.
Actually, I'll take a different stance on that, and that is I kind of actually don't even watch the LabVIEW new feature part during the during the keynote, because we've been participating in the beta for the past 6 to 8 months, and so at that point you kind of know what's going on. Actually, the keynotes themselves, like the most interesting part is to see what's going on of what people are creating with LabVIEW. So that's the exciting part that I kind of pay attention to during the keynote, and maybe type some emails or something during the LabVIEW part. But no, it is exciting. And having been on the beta, yeah, I do have some features that I'm kind of excited about this year.
Yeah, that's true. You have a good point as far as kind of the theme of the whole NIWeek keynote collection was mostly look at these customers and look at these awesome things they're doing with LabVIEW. And I noticed that was, I mean, LabVIEW was there. It's everywhere. I mean, it's in the embedded systems that were in the demos. It was pretty much the thread that combined all of these things and made them work. So it was there, obviously, in a big way. But in general, I guess I was just used to having sections where you're promoting LabVIEW and stuff. So as far as feature set, and I didn't see that.
Yeah, one that's actually kind of ancillary is exciting. Just continuing to see the tools community growing, like John Bergman's demo with LabSockets.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool, because even though it's not necessarily in core LabVIEW, not necessarily shipping with LabVIEW, it's showing just that the ecosystem is getting bigger and better. So even though it may not ship with LabVIEW, it's enabled by LabVIEW, and perhaps presumably even he's able to do some cooler things now that he has LabVIEW 2014. I know from my point of view, as we get more and more core features, you're able to do cooler and cooler add-ons to LabVIEW.
Okay, so I'm going to attempt to do a little PowerPoint presentation here live. So bear with me here as I share my screen. But one of the top features of LabVIEW 2014 is ta-da, the new icon. I say it kind of jokingly because that was kind of a running kind of inside joke between us as far as is that the only feature in LabVIEW that changed? But this is definitely a new feature, and as you can see from my virtual machine here that I'm running, I definitely have a lot of LabVIEW versions installed here along the bottom. So this will help, and right away you can see that 2014 stands out. I have some VIs open, but it does stand out with a new icon, and the other ones, let's see, I have 2013, 2012, and so on. And they all have the standard classic icon. So it's hard to distinguish basically what's what. And moving forward, considering that most operating systems are going to be 64-bit and most applications are going to be 64-bit, I would try to get used to the white icon. Is that correct? Am I broadcasting? Can you hear me? James?
Yep, I can hear you here. Sorry. Yep.
Okay, I think we lost Jack, or Jack froze or something.
Oh, he's very good at standing still.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just keep going on. So yeah, so there was the icons. So that was one of the features that changed, and actually that was one feature that was listed in the LabVIEW ID Exchange, and it was there for quite a few years, as to a lot of people wanted that. So that's now new. Another feature in LabVIEW 2014 is that I can click. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong window. There you go. Now, when you run and you have an error dialog, it shows you a link. Hey, Jack, we have you back. In a different view, but you're back. So we have a link down at the bottom here where it searches ni.com for the error code, and basically what that does is it goes off to the web and on ni.com and searches that error code and brings up relevant resolution pages of what it could be. So that's a new feature there. Let's see. Let's jump into. Okay, so there's a bunch of other new features, and I'll actually demo them. I think that's best to do that. So I have several VIs here that I put together, which allows us to kind of see what these features are. And the first one here is we call this wiring for lazy people. But basically, here's an example of you have several functions that are similar, and one commonality is they have error in, error out, and they have a specific reference that they're required to wire between them. So what the new feature in 2014 is you wrap all of these. You press Control Space. You can see my keyboard here. Control Space, and then brings up Quick Drop, and then Control W wires them up just like that. So that's the feature of LabVIEW. Now I know for a fact that it was Darren Anninger who was responsible for working on this, because he's kind of the quick drop master. There's another modifier to this, is that if you select them, Control Space and then Control Shift W, it'll actually wire them and clean up the diagram at the same time. So another shortcut for you. What do you guys think about this feature, James?
Yeah, I do quite a lot of object-oriented programming, and so that's where I can see that could be very useful, because you have that kind of layout reference error, and do it pretty quickly.
Man, I really like the concept of it. The concept is fantastic. So fantastic that I wish it would be not just Quick Drop, but I wish Quick Drop even had a more embedded experience with the LabVIEW IDE, in the sense of that one little delay, when you try to invoke Quick Drop, and then the other little delays as you do scripting. That's basically the only gripe. The only gripe is that Quick Drop could be even more embedded into LabVIEW, because things like that really do enhance programming, make you go a lot faster, and so only having it kind of as an add-on is the only thing that I wish would have a more native feel. So that's for Darren Nattinger. You use that as I guess ammunition to try to get this thing feeling even more native to LabVIEW.
Well, Jack, you look like you're coming from the war zone or something. You're shaky camera and all.
Dude, yikes! Sorry, guys. My computer is
it's
coming to you live from a 4-inch phone.
Oh, okay. So you're calling in through the phone. Cool.
Yeah.
So we have Stephen Loftus Mercer, who's in the chat, and he says that the best part of this icon change is that it gives you a top feature every year from now on. So that's pretty funny. Yeah, so that's one cool feature, is the auto wiring of objects, and actually it works if you have multiple parallel strands of functions that you can wire them together. LabVIEW will do that for you. The other feature we have, which I think might be pretty useful, is I'll show you an example here with, if I wrap a bunch of this code in a case structure. Okay, like this. So now you have this selector that's not wired to anything. A lot of us use the case structure, the error in, error out, and because we do error kind of handling or management, so to speak, with the case structure. Now what you can do is you can right-click on one of these inputs and say replace with case selector. So what it does is it wires up it takes that wire that you select that node and makes that the input to the case selector. It'll do it on any input. So let's say I pick the Boolean input, replace with case selector, boom, it uses that. That's pretty handy. James, what do you think about that one? I think that would be pretty useful.
Yeah, I tend to start writing like little bits that I know will be sub-VIs in the diagram and then use create sub-VI. And so I find myself so many times per day putting a case structure around it, forking the error wire so it goes into the case selector and then deleting it. So that's going to save me, I mean, it's like 20 seconds every time, but several times a day, it all adds up.
Yeah, I agree. That's a pretty cool feature. It would be nice to take it kind of to the next level by saying that every time you wrap something in a case structure and it has an error wire, to automatically connect the error to the case selector. But that's kind of my personal preference.
I guess especially now it's so easy to change it then if that isn't what you want. Like it would be a pain if it was then the manual job of changing it, but if you can just click on another one and say, actually, no, I mean this one, then
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think this is actually one of those features that started as a quick drop idea. It's been implemented in quick drop for I think 3 years or so. Someone can correct me on that. But yeah, it finally grew up to be a first-class feature that's integrated into the experience. I wonder, I haven't even tried this, and I don't remember the keyboard shortcut, but I wonder if that quick drop shortcut still works for those who have the muscle memory of the keyboard presses. Maybe someone in the chat window could help us out.
What quick drop feature are you talking about?
The ability to highlight the case selector and then control space, control something that would do this precise job here. That job, this has been around for a little while, and I think it finally grew up to become part of the IDE.
Mm-hmm. Well, Darren Nattinger is in the chat, so maybe he knows what you're talking about, and he'll jump in and let us know.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so let's look at something else which is kind of cool, which I find is kind of one step closer to resolving problems and issues rather than creating problems. I know in the past there's been issues where you modify a strict type, and in this case, in this example, I'm showing it as a constant, where here we have a constant with an enum with 3 elements: hello, world, and vi shots, and then right now both of these are set to world. Right now, if I open the type def and I modify it, and I go and delete world, remove item, and then I apply my changes, close this guy. Yeah, sure, why not? Actually, I didn't expect that. My demo failed. Basically, these were supposed to be gray, and they're not for some reason. What did I do wrong? Okay, let me see here. Okay, so let's take out, let's see, open type def. Let's just remove this guy. Do I have to save these? Let's try that. Okay, so these are gray, right? Because, I mean, the type def changed. If I save this, okay, yeah, that's strange. It didn't work this time. What's supposed to happen is when you apply your changes, this element here in the enum should be gray, right? Then you right-click and there's another option where you you can edit you can resolve your conflict and decide what to do. So let me just give this another shot here. Let's see, add item after. Okay, the last time I only had one on the diagram. That should make a difference, but let's just leave that one there. And type def. Okay, I'm stumped. I just did it before the show, and basically what should happen is LabVIEW should not automatically make this change for you. It would basically show you the old value with a disabled. And yeah.
Maybe we could file our first car for LabVIEW 2014 on air.
Let's see. Do we have someone in the chat that could help us? No, maybe not.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And actually, I see that someone has posted. I think it's Eric Metzler has posted on the Case Selector. That was a plugin by David Laudelsetta that came out in 2012 or so, and it looks like it's control space control period. I think that would rewire the Case Selector, but that might be a plugin that you would need to add from the community, and that link is in the Q&A window for those of you who are interested.
Okay, well, we'll get back to this, but basically, yeah, there's a conflict resolution dialog that pops up, and it shows. I should have taken a screenshot of it, but basically, there's it shows you all the different instances. It's a little dialog that shows you all the different instances where the type def is being used, and it shows you the old value and the new value, and you decide whether you want to accept the changes or not. So let's move on to the next feature. This one here is two new functions in the App Builder API. So the App Builder API, for those of you that don't know it, is located application control, application builder, and what this allows you to do, it's pretty neat. It allows you to automate a lot of your build process. And for example, you have the build VI. You can deploy, you can clean up your build output so you can restart again. So the NI has added these two new functions called get build specification version and set build specification version. And it does exactly what it says it does. Basically, it changes your version number on the build specification, and you can wire the path to the project, that's what it needs basically, and the name of the build specification, the default target is my computer, but you can change that, and you can get the version and you can set the version. Now for installer builds, there is no, I think there's a major, minor, and bug fix, but there's no build number. But for EXEs, there is a build number. And it gets handled nicely. So if the cluster is the same for both install version numbers, install builds, and exe builds. So in the install build, the build number is ignored basically, but it does work just fine. And yeah, I'm kind of bummed that I couldn't demo this guy. I need to go back and do a follow-up on it. So those are some of the key features of LabVIEW. There's quite a few more actually, but these are the ones that are kind of that jump out for me, and kind of I can see a lot of usability. And the one here where it would, LabVIEW would auto update or the type def behind the scenes for you, it was the one that kind of used to cause me a lot of problems. And now with this resolution dialog, that would give me some choice there as to how to solve that issue. So overall, Jack, what do you think about the stuff here that you've seen? Is that something that would be helpful for you?
Yeah, good stuff. Actually, I think the one feature that I'm the most excited about is one thing that launched, I think about 2 weeks ago or so, is the latest update to the Linux RT kernel. I think now, I think they call it the firmware for like the 9068s, the CRIO 9068s, and also the MyRIO. The previous version firmware uh, was the 1.01F, maybe. Somebody could help me now, but now they're up to 2.01, which is truly a major release. Looks like they've got lots of good stuff. Looks like we've got lots of the standard libraries are now a little bit more up to date, uh, which is just absolutely fantastic. So that I think that is far and beyond the most exciting new feature is just to see the Linux embedded market really growing. That's probably going to see that's probably going to be one of the markets where we're seeing some of the most growth, especially for embedded things.
Yeah, there's a few more things that we're going to be talking about, and that's some hardware announcements, and that definitely falls in line with that. James, how do you feel overall about some of the LabVIEW features that you've seen here? Um,
Yeah, I think that probably the other one that's certainly due an honourable mention is the Mac and Linux 64-bit support now. So I've
Yes.
used LabVIEW a little bit on Linux, but certainly I think generally it shows us moving more towards that market. I think when we used to speak to people in NI from coming from say a MATLAB background or other kind of data processing backgrounds, they found it odd to see 64-bit as kind of not the primary way forward. So I think this will really take some steps towards that. And as you say, in a couple of years, hopefully we'll just be using 64-bit.
yeah, I agree that there's definitely the 64-bit Mac and Linux release are very welcome releases, and that will basically take us to many more years in the future. Um, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the the announcements that were made, which are kind of less visible, but they're seen as kind of a restructuring a little bit of how LabVIEW is sold and on NI.com, and I think that that's kind of that would have significant impact to people purchasing LabVIEW moving forward. There was a lot of restructuring on the LabVIEW toolkit side. Toolkits sold by NI or created by NI. To start off, the full and professional development systems now include LabVIEW PID and Fuzzy Logic Toolkit, and you can see that quickly if you look at down here. You'll see that the PID toolkit palette and the Fuzzy Logic palette is included, and this is kind of an installation of LabVIEW Professional, so that's included. Also, other significant toolkits that are included now with Professional are the Database Connectivity Toolkit, Desktop Execution Trace Toolkit, Report Generation, Unit Test Framework, and VI Analyzer. And I applaud NI for doing this because these definitely are professional tools. And if you're a professional LabVIEW developer, you should be doing, unit testing, analyzing your VIs, and all this kind of cool stuff. So having this included in the price of the Pro development system is a welcome change. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, this is totally a mentality shift that actually, like me personally and professionally, I feel confidence in NI making changes like this. This bullet list that you're showing right here, I think these were included into Dev Suite for the first time 2 years ago, maybe 1 year ago. So it's really excited to see them drop even to the professional level because, like you said, these are absolutely professional tools. I think the other thing this shows us is that NI is keeping up with the market, just kind of the broader landscape of the business of software. This is one concept that I've talked about with some of you guys and also maybe some of you in the audience. We've had this conversation. But when you're talking about software, there are three dollar signs involved in that. One is the cost to make the software. One is the value of the software, which is a little bit hard to calculate. But the other is the price of the software, which is just a single scalar value. It's the number basically that's slapped on your marketing site. And what we know about the business of software is the cost to create it is very, very high, because software engineers, it's just costly to create software. The value of software is also very, very high. The value of LabVIEW, what it can do in the lab, in industry, it provides a lot of business value. However, the price, that's the interesting one. And the fact that this is being included into professional, what it shows is that NI is following the market because the price of software is approaching zero. People are tending to give away their software. Like James earlier, you mentioned the 64-bit Linux and Mac support. Both Linux and Mac, those are both free upgrades now. Linux has always been free, but Mac, starting a few versions back, was only charging $29 to upgrade, and now for the past 2 or 3 versions, it's absolutely free. Likewise, Microsoft Visual Studio, they've always had a free version and then some more levels above that. One thing that they did this year was actually open sourced and made free access to their compiler. That's the Roslyn project. So seeing NI do this and keep pace with the market, it's actually very exciting, and it makes me feel confident that one day we will even get LabVIEW in the hands of everybody who could possibly be using LabVIEW. Right now, it's a little bit of a barrier because of the price tag on it. But moves like this, incredibly exciting to see this happening.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. Of course, I like to qualify that the price is still, in the 5K range, so it's definitely not free. But we're still that, a lot of these toolkits some of them were like $1,000 each, so definitely a price reduction overall. And something new, again, some people will argue, well, this is just a marketing ploy. But, the goal here with the introduction of LabVIEW suites with 2014 is kind of guiding people in making the right choices as to what software to pick and purchase for the type of work that they're doing, right? So this is just making it easier for people to make a decision. So that now they have the LabVIEW Automated Test Suite, LabVIEW Embedded Control and Monitoring, and LabVIEW HIL and Real-Time Test Suite. And some of the things here is that the different bundling of toolkits and so on. All of these include LabVIEW Professional. The Automated Test Suite has Test Stand included, digital and analog waveform editor. The LabVIEW Embedded and Control has Professional and FPGA module, real-time module, etc. And finally, the last one has also VeriStand included. So again, kind of funneling or targeting, the specific application type that you're building, and you to guide people to buy the right tools for the job, I guess.
Can I go on another little exciting analysis of these suites? If
Sure.
you'll allow me, I'll make it 1/3 as long as this.
Sure. Round Wirebird Labs bird blue orb. Yes, orb.
Yeah,
Tell us what you think.
I know. I turned the video off. It's sorry guys, the technical problems on mine.
Yeah, no problem.
Here's the exciting thing about suites. They show that this is how you can still have that big price tag, that multi-$1,000, multi-thousand-pound euro price tag whenever you market to a vertical. So you take Automated Test Suite, that's the vertical of automated test, embedded control, HIL, and real time. So this is where you can add additional value on the platform and still have these tags that are able to subsidize and justify the very, very low cost, as low as free cost of the IDE itself, the IDE in the language. I'm really excited about this notion of the LabVIEW IDE in language being free and openly accessible. I feel like the size of our market, like we're able to go to NIWeek and see different slides each year as to how the NI business is growing, and we've had fantastic linear growth over the past 20 years or so. I just have this hunch that if we were to able to make the LabVIEW IDE in language more accessible, that we might be able to get off of that linear growth. And this is not just it's not just the open source mentality. It's not just because we want things for free. It's not because we don't want to pay. It's because we want graphical programming to really take hold and start competing with other languages. Like Python is a general purpose language. James, I think your demo on the stage is incredible, because even though you're serving up Angular, you're not serving it from a Node backend. You're not serving it from Apache. You're not serving it from Microsoft IIS. What are you serving it from? You're serving it from LabVIEW, the LabVIEW web server. And the ability to open this up to more and more people, especially with the Linux 64, which absolutely proliferates for VMs on server clouds and the internet. Basically, if you're going to do things like this, it's got to be on Linux. But being able to have LabVIEW shift towards this, that is absolutely the most exciting thing that I've seen in LabVIEW 2014. The new little technical features are, it's neat to see it getting a little bit better. But this fundamental change of how LabVIEW is sold and LabVIEW as a business, those fundamental changes, that's the exciting thing that we're seeing really start to take shape in LabVIEW 2014.
Cool. Thanks for the analysis, Jack. That's why we have other people on here, so we can have different opinions. I think it's pretty awesome. We're at 20 minutes before the end of the show, unfortunately, and so I'd like to squeeze in a bunch of other little announcements, that little but actually big announcements for NI hardware releases. NI released a new compact Rio, a new performance. They call it the performance controller, and basically it has a better processor, better performance, better specifications. But James, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think you were kind of excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the new 903 series of the controllers, and really they're replacing what was the ruggedized controllers, as they called them, so like the 9025, the 9024. And these were still running sort of 800 megahertz power PCs. So these now run an x86 architecture. They've got a Intel Atom dual core, and the difference in performance is incredible. It's not a slight increment; it's a real jump up from where we were, and that combined with the new FPGAs. So I hadn't quite realized the change until last year, where they released the USB-R series with these new Series 7 FPGAs, and they've got, I can't remember the numbers off my head now, but again, multipliers is a big limited resource there, and the size is huge by comparison. It's kind of at one of those points where I look at this now and think, wow, any of those applications we've been doing are going to be so much easier, because there's so much more power in this, and you think, are you ever going to use it? Of course, new applications come along that will fill that instead, but it's great to have this kind of step up without really any compromises. It's a little bit wider, but it still has the extended temperature range, so it can still go everywhere that the other chassis went, which wasn't the case with like the 9082, which is the last kind of high performance one, which is much bigger. And the really cool kind of headline feature on this is like the display port. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, you can just plug in a touch panel display, like any touch screen, really, and you run your VI and you just see your VI and you can just that's your UI. What a concept, right? You could just manipulate the front panel of your VI right inside the Creo, so that's pretty cool.
I'll be honest, I was sat with people, and I think we were all kind of thinking it when they first announced, what's the trick? What's the catch? This, it can't be that good. We've seen things in the past where there was a big performance hit, and there is a performance hit with this, but because we've got those bigger processors in there, it is a feasible thing for a lot of people to use. So that's pretty cool.
Well, it is Linux, right? So it's running. So I actually had a chance to play with it a little bit and download a VI and run it, and the way your UI controls and front panel objects look in Windows obviously doesn't look exactly the same on the controller because it's running Linux. So the graphical objects kind of resize a little different. The fonts are a little different, but that's something you have to kind of play around with and deal with. But yeah, it's as simple as just downloading it, running it, and it's there right on the screen, pretty much. So yeah, so this one, as you can see here on the screen, there's kind of an image of it. As you said, it has a more powerful processor. But you're commenting on one of your blog posts that some of your skills that you built up over the years was to make the software compact and be able to fit on these Cereos, and now you're saying that your skills are not valuable anymore, or what?
Like I said, there will always be bigger and better applications to push it further.
That just means your code is going to get bigger and bloated.
Yeah.
We'll fill that thing up, don't worry.
Yeah, we'll find a way. But there's certainly been applications in the past where we spent a lot of time getting it to fit just to meet that kind of form factor. And now with this, it's it's going to be much easier.
Right. I'd like to talk about another announcement which I find significant as well in the embedded world. Let's see if I have anything up here. No, that's not it. Basically, sorry about that, guys. Let me just pull it up here. NI calls it the system on a module, and the system on a module. I'll just pop it in here. Looks like this, and it's basically a really small module. It's really small, and in OEM pricing quantities, like for example, at 100 quantity, 100 it's like $559. At 500 and at 1,000 it's like $399. So this is geared towards people designing embedded hardware or systems that require embedded processors, and so it's kind of a development environment for that. And with LabVIEW, of course, you can get up and running a lot easier and faster. So with traditional development environments, you have to worry about a lot of things that this system simplifies that. And this was announced at the keynote, and I believe this will kind of revolutionize how it'll revolutionize kind of what we do, because now we'll be developing software for a lot of these embedded instruments, like for example in medical and these other industries. We'll be using our LabVIEW skills to do a lot of cool stuff, and of course it has FPGAs running Linux real time, where you can use all the benefits of the open source community and all the modules that you can plug into Linux. It's validated. It's a validated system. It has this flat heat sink on it to help you with thermal with issues. It also comes with this development kit, which allows you to expand the I/O and connect to other things like Ethernet and so on and so forth. So this kind of wasn't. for those of you that care, you probably noticed, but a lot of people might not have noticed this. But I think it's a significant move forward where NI is trying to get into the embedded market. What do you guys think?
I remember I was an intern when some of the first single board Rios were coming out, and I was very interested in robotics at the time, and I kind of looked at it and thought, it's never going to fit on a robot.
Yeah.
And then with the last generation and now this, yeah, it's a real push into places where LabVIEW just couldn't go before. So now, like you say, getting into things like medical devices, we could see LabVIEW fitting into a system like that where you couldn't so much, a few years ago. It was really going to broaden the reach of what it can do.
Yeah, and it helps people who don't have a huge development team or the infrastructure internally to develop embedded systems and to develop systems like that to get into that field and be able to do it in a more cost-effective way, I think. Because they can focus on building their algorithms and the things that are pertaining to their industry rather than trying to figure out well, how do I connect this I/O, or how do I talk to that I/O, and how do I do all this? How do I interface externally and all this stuff? Where NI is taking care of all of that for you, and all you need to focus on is building your VIs that focus on your industry specialty. So I think it'll open up a lot of possible opportunities for a lot of other companies to build their embedded systems. I think it's pretty important. Plus, it's more work for us. That's stuff we can do.
Yeah, this is even demonstrating kind of like what software is doing. The price of software is going to zero, as is that of hardware. I have no idea the price of this particular module. It's probably not particularly inexpensive. But
I just mentioned it. It's $560 for quantity 100, and at quantity 1,000, it's $399. So it's definitely yeah. So I mean, it's still a cost. I mean, but for someone who wants to get something embedded up and running quickly and not worry about a lot of things that embedded developers have to worry about.
Yeah, you bet. And then in 10 years, this guy's going to cost $10, and we're going to have one that's 100 times more performant. That's then at that $300. Mark.
Exactly. Yep. So I think it's pretty cool stuff.
Very cool.
So, do you guys have anything that what was your impression walking away overall from NIWeek as to kind of the future of LabVIEW and the technology that NI is presenting here?
Well, I certainly came away. One thing I was really excited about is just more and more focus on getting LabVIEW and the community together. We saw the announcement. Obviously, about the VI package manager online.
Yes.
So again, the community featured on the keynote. The Tools Network stands. I wasn't here last year, so I don't know if they were there last year, but it's the first time I've seen them, and that was great as well to go speak to developers. And I think in the work I've done with Angular and tools like that on some of these projects, realizing it's the ecosystem that makes those. It's the fact I can go online and find, oh, I need to do this. Save yourself a day development. Someone's done it already. And the more and more we bring that to LabVIEW as well, I think it's improving, and there seems to be a real emphasis on that at the minute. So that's really exciting, I think, and hopefully something that'll continue.
Jack?
Yeah, I'll loop back to all the same stuff. It's all about the market. I'm just excited. Basically, us three, a lot of us listening in the audience, we are professional LabVIEW developers. And the question is, if we want to continue to be professional LabVIEW developers, what does NI need to be doing? And I'm excited that they're really doing what they need to be doing. Like what we saw in LabVIEW 2014 is not necessarily a ton of huge features that were going to get us to make better LabVIEW programs that compete more. What we're seeing is more of a restructuring fundamentally of what LabVIEW is, and that is what's going to move the dial on our careers in the next 5, 10, 20 years. So it's really, really, really invigorating, not necessarily to see the small technical changes, not to cheer and clap for the little features that we get on the keynote stage, but just seeing that LabVIEW is really becoming poised to match the market and to make sure that we can continue to be LabVIEW developers for a long time. I came away from NIWeek with that feeling right there. Confidence that NI is really restructuring to do some cool things with their products to make it more accessible.
I have one more attempt to do my little demo of my enum before the show closes. So Christina Rogers posted that the thing that tripped me up was that the constant value is if the constant value is the default value of the typedef, then it doesn't prompt you. So so I opened up. So if I let me just share my screen here again. There we go. So here we have the enum. I have two values. If I open up the typedef, the default is actually walk, and I'm not using walk. So now if I edit the typedef and I remove this item. No. Okay. That didn't work. Okay, never mind. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, so if I remove this guy. Okay, well, never mind. This is going to drive me nuts. I'm going to figure out eventually. So, well, thank you guys for being on the show. Thank you, James, for joining us. And
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you, Jack, for joining us as well, even though we had some technical difficulties, but you managed to hang in there. Hang in there.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Pleasure as always.
And thank you for everyone in the chat. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get to a lot of your questions, but definitely appreciate the participation and all the fun comments. Let's see if we can answer some of them here quickly on the way out. We responded to the quick drop shortcut issue. Darren's complaining that I didn't pronounce his last name correct. That's fine. Let's see.
Greg Lemunyan asked the question, what is the system on a module cost in single quantity in DevBoard? That's probably something, contact your local DSM, I'd say.
Yeah, I would say that, and it's definitely designed for OEM kind of applications. So, I mean, I'm sure if you just had one that you want to try out, they'll let you have one, but it's definitely designed for OEM, large quantity situations.
Yeah, I managed to look at the dev board on the stage at NIWeek, and that's pretty big. You're better off with a single board Rio if you just want to use it like that anyway.
And yeah, so that's about it. So thank you all for joining on this episode of VI Shots. And again, if you want to find out how to join on this episode in the chat room in the future, go to vishots.com/live, and most of the time we post the next show a day or two before on there. But most importantly, you should join the VI Shots mailing list, which is vishots.com/subscribe. And I send out an email before the show just to let people know the exact time and date, just to be sure. So please join on the mailing list, and I also post out other different announcements as far as a new podcast episodes and new posts as well. Thank you all for joining us, and bye for now.